When it comes to Kendra and not speaking, you haven't spoken in years, you guys had a falling out. Is there ever a part of you that goes, I wish we could talk this out? Or is it kind of like, you know what, that's in the past and sometimes you don't need to like rehash things or be friends with somebody just for the sake of it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm watching the show and I see like the fun times and the good times. And I'm like, you know what? It would just be good to be good. Like we don't have to like hang out every day, but it would be good to like be on good terms. Like we can touch base if we need to. I don't know that that'll ever happen because I don't know, you know, if she's really processed all the things she went through in her work life. I'm not necessarily talking about Playboy. I'm talking about that producer we worked with. And like, I don't know what her perspective is on that or how much, you know, she sees or understands now what was going on. But, you know, I'm kind of either or on it.
If it came your way, you wouldn't be like, no way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've been super open about your story, your health, your being in, and I know like towards the end of last year, you revealed a diagnosis that you were on the autism spectrum. What has the response been like to doing that? And also, how do you feel as, you know, an adult? Because a lot of times a diagnosis like that you get as a kid, and when it comes later in life, it can be very confusing. How did getting that diagnosis make you feel?
For me personally, it was a huge relief. I always knew that there was something a little bit different about me, and I made so many excuses for it. I was like, oh, okay, well, I grew up in Alaska out in the middle of nowhere. That must be, but my sister did too, and she's fine. She's perfectly normal. So I would make all these excuses. I wouldn't really, you know, realize why I operated the way I did. But when my mom told me that she had always kind of suspected this since I was really young, I looked at the symptoms. I thought that sounds like me, and eventually it was last summer I got a diagnosis, and it's just been such a relief for me to know more about myself and why I operate the way I do and be able to tell other people so they understand. And because people will be so put off by like the tiniest social cue that like I'm not getting, and they'll think I'm the biggest asshole. Like it's not
They think you're being rude.
Yeah,
like it's
totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just able to operate so much better now that I know. It's a relief. I mean, they call it I also want to acknowledge that they call it a spectrum for a reason. Like I can function pretty quote unquote normally. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot more challenges than I do. But for me, it was just a big relief to find out.
Right.